Riolet will share the slide deck. So just a quick introduction. As Elliot mentioned, it's myself, Matt Sayers, Head of Assets for Australia. We have Riolet LaRue. Riolet heads up our graduate coordination program, and it'll be the main contact for anyone wishing to enter into the graduate scheme within the Thiess business. We've got Patrick Daly, who is a recent graduate mechanical engineer who's just been put on as a full-time engineer within the Thiess business. I'll get you to go to the next slide, please, Riolet. So just at Thiess, we honour and respect Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as having the longest continuous culture on Earth. We recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the traditional owners and custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging, for they embrace the memories, traditions and cultures of Australia. We bring this understanding to our decisions and actions every day. Certainly at Thiess, we are a very inclusive and diverse organisation, and you'll see this throughout the presentation, with not just diversity within cultures in Australia, but certainly around the world. So a bit about Thiess. Let's go to the next slide. Thiess is the world's largest mining services provider. So with services, we talk about mine engineering, we talk about mineral extraction, assets and asset management, and mine rehabilitation. Our contracts and our services to our clients might span single ones of these, and quite often more will actually do packages of work. The company's been around for over 85 years, since the early 30s, when the Thiess brothers first started a contracting job west of Brisbane up to Toowoomba, right through to the mining transition that occurred in the mid to early 2000s. Our integrity, accountability, innovation and delivery underpinned by safety are our principles and values that we stand by. We operate in a number of different regions across the world, and I'll touch on all of those regions very shortly, across a big span of commodities. So Thiess has been known a long time as a bit of a coal miner, but in more recent years has transitioned into more of the minerals and some of the newer sort of, I suppose, battery type technologies and minerals. So we span now coal, copper, gold, iron ore, more recently nickel and lithium, and we're producing a molybdenum mine as we speak over in the US. We also work both underground and open cut. So as I mentioned, we do operate across the globe. And starting from the left-hand side there, we've got assets running in the Fort McKay region in Canada. And I can talk pretty personally about those. I was based over there for a number of years. More recently, we've opened up a molybdenum mine in Colorado in the US, and opened up another head office to head up our US operations in Salt Lake City. We've got a couple of projects in Chile, one out of Antofagasta and one closer to Santiago. In Mongolia, we've had a long-standing relationship with a client there, UHG, with a mine in central Mongolia. And more recently, we've had an underground copper mine that we partnered with a JV partner there in Oyu Tolgoi. Indonesia's been a strong standing for Thiess for a number of years. We've been there for some 30 to 35 years now, and have a number of projects, particularly in Kalimantan. In Australia, well, that's our home country. That's where Thiess first started, and we've got projects and operations spanning across the country, from the east coast with coal in Queensland and New South Wales, to the copper fields in South Australia, and to some of the iron ore and more recently lithium mine in WA. Supporting each of those regions as well are various sort of centres. So we've got component rebuild centres where Thiess maintain their own components. So we're talking engines, we're talking transmissions, final drives, the sort of components that might go into our assets. And those facilities are in Brisbane, Perth, and one in Balikpapan in Indonesia. So to make this big beast run, we've got just over 11,000 people worldwide, spanning those 26 projects. And of course, as I mentioned, 7 countries, so a footprint that is geographically and culturally sparse as you like, offering opportunities that can bring you wherever you sort of desire in your career. So next up, Riolet will give a bit of an overview of our graduate program, and then Pat and myself will talk a bit more about our own experiences within the company.
Do you want to pivot to yourself, Pat, and we'll come back?
No worries. I'll just read through this. I think there was only 1 or 2 slides on there, but But basically, and I can probably talk more about the practicalities of the program, but yeah, as Rillette's got there on the screen, the project is designed to attract and maintain the best and brightest in the industry. We do offer challenging and rewarding careers in the mining industry. They are diverse, so we give opportunities for graduates to rotate through a number of different areas in the organisation, whether it be through our corporate office, learning some of the nuances of the Thiess contracting model, our asset management, our processes, our principles, through to our mine sites. Typically, people will do 2 to 3 rotations, and they'll always incorporate a couple of those on sites, generally working hand in hand with the team on site. And again, Pat will expand a little bit about that with his experiences in the organisation, but we've more recently had some of our graduates put their hand up to try international opportunities as well. Probably a bit rarer, but certainly the business supports the transition of people across different areas within the business. So we look for, Rilette. Next slide.
Still nothing, I think.
Bit odd, really. Not sure why that's happening. You were on the panel and talking, so might leave it up to Pat and Matt for this one.
That's all right. We'll give it a go. You're probably not hearing the best, but so the types of graduates that we're after, as was on the slide just previous, was mechanical, mining, mechatronics, civil, and electrical engineering. So spanning all engineering disciplines. We have geology grads, survey, spatial science, data sciences, the environmental streams, digital and technology, certainly the finance and accounting and health and safety. So anything that you can imagine being required to support and maintain a global mining organisation. Thiess is a service provider seeking the same sort of skill sets. Rightio, Pat. I hope your sound works well, because I really probably can't talk too much about your personal experiences within Thiess, but follow along.
No worries. Thanks, Matt. So yeah, good afternoon, everyone. This is just a bit of a brief overview of my journey so far with Thiess. So I started my degree in mechanical engineering at QUT in 2016. In my 3rd year of uni, while I was looking for vacation work, I stumbled across an ad for Thiess. I'm going to be honest, I didn't know how to pronounce the name at first, or understood too much what they did. I did a fair bit of research before I applied, and the whole sort of process just sparked my interest in the company. So I was lucky enough to get a placement on their vacation program. Like many other companies, it goes for 3 months, and I was placed out at Jellinbah Plains, which is a project that we had in Blackwater in central Queensland. During my time out there, I was embedded as part of the maintenance crew, as Matt talked about before, essentially working on all the mobile plant with fitters, heavy diesel mechanics, and auto electricians. It was an invaluable experience, as I'm sure that many of the graduates on the call, on the panels, can attest to today. And following on from that vacation program, I expressed my interest in continuing my career with Thiess, and then obviously transitioned onto the graduate program. So a bit about my rotations. So you do 3 rotations on our graduate program. The structure has changed slightly since I went through the program. There are 2 6-month rotations now in the office generally, and 1 12-month rotation on site. I did 3 8-month rotations. So my first rotation was in our asset reliability team in Brisbane. And that essentially consisted of studying machine data to identify any trends in an effort to improve machine uptime and performance. So this includes oil samples and machine health data that's produced by the machine ECMs. And like, we can detect turbo failures before they happen, before they turn into a fire event. We can detect slipping transmissions to prevent failures as well. So we can actually pull equipment up early before we have a costly failure. During that team, I also had the opportunity to attend regular site meetings with the maintenance teams, obviously highlighting any issues that need to be brought up the week that needs the site team to address. And during that rotation, I completed about 30 individual projects, and those projects range from about 2 days to 4 months. And like Matt said, I had the opportunity to work on our Australian sites across those projects and the international teams as well. So it was a good breadth of work there, as well as engaging with other suppliers such as Hastings, Westrac and Liebherr. My second rotation was at Curra North in Blackwater again. And so I worked as a site engineer embedded within the maintenance team. And I was again very privileged to get the experience to work on the mobile plant as an embedded member of the team, obviously working under the direction of skilled trades. Aside from that, I also had the opportunity to work on a number of engineering projects while I was out there, preparing and presenting reports for the client, and also compiling data and reports for other parties such as our equipment suppliers. I also had the opportunity to work on several large failure analysis reports, which were presented to both internal and external senior management. My third and final rotation was in our asset engineering team back in Brisbane. And so that team essentially looks at investigations into major equipment failures, seeing if we can actually improve anything moving forward, focusing on safety as the key item there. We also study safety critical systems on machines such as fire suppression and access systems, and identify any trends in terms of breakdowns that we can move forward and work with our suppliers to rectify. I also assisted in project management of several other areas, and also utilising tools such as Microsoft Power Automate to improve business efficiency. During that rotation, I also had the opportunity to help spec some of our new items at plant and also inspect those items as they came into the business, ensuring that, again, any safety critical items met Australian standards and our own Thiess standards as well. So that brings me on to today, the current role. So as Matt touched on before, I've just transitioned into a permanent role off the graduate program, essentially in the same team as I was in my third rotation. I'll hand back to Riolette if her microphone's working. Microphone's still not working. Okay. Well, for my last section here, I had notes to hand back to Matt to talk about a career with Thiess and where that can take you.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. And look, I know this is all about graduates, and one interesting thing about Thiess is when I think about the organisation that's around me, there's a number of the team that have been graduates within the business and have found their way up to being heads of departments, deputy CFOs, heads of safety, and in some of our international projects. So the thing with Thiess is you start with a role, and your career can be as broad or as narrow as targeted and as specific as you like. The opportunities are only as endless as those that you want to try and put your mind and effort to. And I know those sort of things come across as a bit of a sales pitch, but I guess I just want to give a bit of an overview on my career. So I was a graduate, you can tell by the grey hair, back in the early 2000s, not within Thiess, but within another mining organisation. And I spent some time going around to a different couple of mining organisations around Australia. I started with Thiess as the engineering manager in 2013, so mechanical engineer coming in as engineering manager. In that time, worked on a variety of projects. A bit like Pat, you work on a number of targeted projects across our sites. Saw a need for a component rebuild centre to support our assets, and had the opportunity to develop two of those. So one in Brisbane, one in Perth. Nowadays, those centres punch out about 3,000 components a year to support our assets, so our trucks, our excavators, our dozers, and the like. 2015 through 16, I also was fortunate enough to go and support the African business. So we had a diamond mine over there in Botswana, supporting a client over there, basically flying in and out of there every few months, supporting the team, the OEMs over there in asset management. Moved over to Canada and became a country asset manager over there for 2.5 years, so based up in the oil sands department, or oil sands region of Alberta. Again, had a brilliant opportunity to go and experience different cultures, different climates, different environments, and just a different way of doing work. Came back from there. I have been involved in merger and acquisition activities, new energies, the photo you see there on the top left. That's a colleague of myself. We're putting some of the first dual fuel, so natural gas powered fleets into the business be this year. That'll be another project that Pat will get his hands into, no doubt, supporting one of our mine sites in Queensland, really trying to reduce the greenhouse impact and carbon footprint of our operating fleets while we transition to new power. Late last year, I was put into the to the head of assets for Australia, which is another exciting career step for me. And again, when I look at the opportunities that I've had over the 9 odd years I've been with Thiess, I've probably had 4 different careers, 4 different jobs. So again, a career with Thiess isn't just one sort of box you get put into. You certainly get the ability to support a pretty dynamic business that just continues to grow and challenge itself. And with that, I'll hand back to Riolette for Q&A, but I dare say it'll be via text or myself and Pat answering any questions up front.
Got a couple of minutes left in this presentation for the students who are online. So if there's any questions that you've got, put them in the Q&A function. If we don't get them to them right now, then obviously the team will be able to answer them directly. Before I'm also for a question for myself, it seems to be coming up quite a bit in regards to putting your best foot forward and how to kind of set yourself apart. And Patrick, it's probably the most relevant to yourself. Like what do you feel that you did when you were applying to jobs? Was there something that you did like with your CV? Did you reach out on the phone? Like, was there specific things that you felt that you did potentially that other students wouldn't have?
I think in uni, I made a point to really put myself out there in terms of joining clubs. And there's a few sort of benefits to doing that. I think you can kind of get a taste for the industry before you actually start work. So before you do vacation placements, you can kind of get an idea of where you want to head with your career. I think I can speak for Riolette here.
The following is a short test of the building's evacuation system.
That's good timing.
Yeah, well, I think I can speak for Riolette here and say that sort of any club experience would be highly regarded on a CV, and that's probably the same with most of the companies here today as well. Yeah, and in terms, I also had other work before Thiess as well, so just casual work had nothing to do with my career at the moment, but I think that's also highly regarded.
Oh, it's really good. Anything from yourself, Matt? I don't know if that service announcement's finished yet, but anything else specifically that you'd kind of mentioned to students as well?
Sorry, I missed all of that. Yeah, we had the fire alarm test going on in the background. Mentioned to students about putting themselves out there. Look, just be open in what you'd be looking for in a career, and be certainly open to the ability to go and try new things. I guess what I like to see in grads when they're applying is a lot of drive, I guess, and certainly desire to be a real support to the business and not be pigeonholed. I think those that come in with an open mind certainly go a long way.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thanks so much for your time today, team, and obviously with yourself, Riolette, for the panel session as well. Hope you've got a lot out of today, and for the students online, feel free to keep asking questions to the Thiess team if you did, but it sounds like a lot of them got answered in the panel session earlier today. But again, thank you so much, Matt and Patrick, for coming on today.
Thanks, Elliot.
Thank you.
See you, team.
See everybody.